Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the last video, we have seen 5 rules for sketching the root locus of a control system for a open loop transfer function. Now let's look at this example that g of s into h of s is given by this expression. In this we have 1, 0 and there are 4 poles. Right. So first rule was that your root locus is symmetric about the real axis. In the second rule, we discussed that how we can find out some parameters of the transfer function, that is the number of poles. Number of poles are equal to 4. First of all, determine that one, and the number of 0 is equal to 1, and the number of loci moving towards the infinity, that will be n minus m, that will be equal to 3. Right, the difference of the poles and zeros. There are 4 poles, 1 0, so 3 will move towards the zeros which are sitting at the infinity, and 1 pole will move towards the finite 0. And these 3 poles will move along the asymptotes when they are approaching to the infinity. So the for the calculation of the asymptotic angle, we are going to find out n minus m minus 1, so that is equal to 2. So the value of q will be 0, 1 and 2. Okay, so over here you can see that when the q is 0, using this expression that we discussed in the last video for the asymptotic angle, you will get the 60 degree, and when the q is equal to 1, you will get 180 degree, and when the q is equal to 2, you will get 300 degree. Okay, so if I move in terms of the steps, the first step, that the root locus is symmetric. The second one is to calculate these parameters. The third one is to look at that which part of the real axis is the part of the root locus or not. So if I sketch these poles over here in this diagram, that you can say one pole is at 0, the other one is at minus 2, next is at minus 4, next one is at minus 5, and the 0 is at minus 3. So now first of all, taking the pole 0 map. Okay, so this these are the poles, and the 0 is over here. So what about this point? If you look at on the right side of this one, so there is one pole, right? So this is the part of the root locus because it's an odd number. If I take the test point over here, and for this whole portion of the real axis, if I look on the right hand side, so there are 2 poles, so this is not the part of root locus. And now if I take this portion of the real axis, so over here if I look at on the right hand side, 1 0 and 2 poles, 3, the sum is 3, that's an odd number, so it is the part of the root locus. And then on this side, if I look at this part, so from here 1 2 3 4 5, it's an odd number, so this is the part of the root locus. So the real portion of the real axis will be the part of root locus. This portion, this portion and this portion, and this portion will not be the part of the root locus. That is the third rule, how to determine the portion of the real axis that is the part of the root locus. And then the fourth rule was related to the calculation of the angle of asymptotes. Those we have calculated over here. And the fifth rule was related to the calculation of the centroid. So that is equal to the sum of the real parts of the poles minus the sum of the real parts of the zeros. So 0, minus 2, minus 4, minus 5, and the real part of the 0 is minus 3. So that gives us minus 8 by 3. So your centroids will intersect your real axis at minus 8 by 3. Okay, so that you can see over here, this is basically the centroid, that is this one, and this asymptote will be at the angle 60 degree, the other asymptote will be at the angle 180 degree coming from here, and this asymptote over here is at the angle of 300 degree coming from this equation. So these are the asymptotes along which our poles will be moving. Okay, so over here you can see that this pole will move toward this 0, right? This pole will move toward the infinity along this asymptote, that is at the angle of 180 degree. These two poles will first of all move toward this move over this real axis, and then they will depart from this real axis and will move toward the infinity along these asymptotes. So their zeros are sitting at the infinity. Okay, so that you can see the root locus from the MATLAB. Here we have this command. We have defined the denominator using the roots of the using the poles, and that denominator along with this the numerator. In the numerator we have 1 and 3. Okay, so excluding this k, so 1 and 3, and then sketching the root locus of this one, and this is the limit command that we should so see the root locus from minus 8 to 5. Okay, so in this you can see this pole coming over here and going towards the infinity like that, and this pole coming over here and going towards the infinity, and this pole is coming towards the 0, and this pole is moving toward the infinity over here, right? So for the sketching, we have seen that this will uh, if we sketch the asymptotes, so these asymptotes are going to intersect at this point, and this point is equal to minus 8 by 3 as we calculated over here, and this angle is 60 degree, and this angle is minus 60 degree, because we have seen that, we discussed that very first rule, that the root locus is symmetric. So the angle at which it will move in the upper S plane, at the same angle it will be moving toward the infinity in the lower S plane. Okay, so this pole will be moving towards 0 because this is the part of the root locus, and this pole will be moving towards the infinity with this portion, along this portion of the real axis, over the real axis. Okay, so that is the root locus plot of that one. Okay, now let's discuss about the rule number 6, that is the breakaway and the break-in points. So what is the breakaway? It is defined as the point at which the root locus comes out of the real axis. That is this one and this one. Your root locus, this one, it has come out of the real axis. The other root locus is over the real axis. This is over the real axis. This is over the real axis. This portion is the real axis. But when it comes out of that one, right? So this we say this is the breakaway. Okay. So if there is some, let's suppose some other zero sitting over somewhere over here, and two more zeros, one zero over here and one zero over. So then these poles will come toward that zero. So there will be the break in when the poles are coming towards the real axis. Okay, so what is the breakaway? It is defined as the point at which the root locus will come out of the real axis. And what is break in? It is defined as the point at which the root locus will enter the real axis. Okay, so these are the points where multiple roots exist. Why? Because you can see over here, this pole is moving over here and this pole is coming over. When they overlap each other, then they come out of the real axis. So you have two roots over here. Similarly, there may be the multiple roots at the break-in as well. Okay, so these are the points where the multiple roots exist of the characteristic equation, right? So if there are a branches, the root locus leaves the real axis at 180 divided by a. So in this way you can find out if there are a branches, the locus leaves the real axis at this one, 180 degree divided by the a. Okay, so now how we can predict about breakaway and the break in. So if there are two adjacently placed poles at the real axis, and the real axis is the part of the root locus, so one minimum breakaway point exists in between adjacently placed poles, right? So as you can see over here, if I say that I have this transfer function, one pole is sitting at 0, the other pole is at -1, the other pole is at -3. So if we look at this part of the real axis, definitely if you take a test point, so on the right side of that one there is only one pole. It means it is this portion of the real axis is the part of the root locus, right? And if I take a test point over here, there are two poles, so this is not the part of root locus. And if I take a test point over here, there are three poles, so it is the part of the root locus. So it means whenever you have two poles and the center part of that one is the part of the root locus, the real axis in between is the part of the root locus, then there will be definitely a breakaway point in between. So these poles will move like that, and then they will break away, right? And they will move towards the zeros, maybe the finite zeros, or maybe the zero sitting somewhere at the infinity. Okay, similarly, if you have two adjacently placed zeros on the real axis, then the real axis in between them is the part of the root locus. It means some pole will be coming toward those zeros, right? So let's consider this case. We have two zeros and we have three poles. Two poles are sitting at the origin, double pole at the origin. One pole at s is equal to -5, and here you can see the two zeros, this one and this one. And if I check the real axis, this cannot be the root locus because there are two poles over here. If I take a test point over here, there will be the odd number of the sum of number of zeros and poles, so this will be the part of the root locus. this will also be the part of root locus, because if I look at towards the right of this 1, so 1 2 3 4 5, so that's an on. So this is the portion of the real axis part of the root locus, this is the portion of the real axis part of the root locus. Okay, so it means some poles will be coming towards these zeros. So when these poles will come over here, coming somewhere over here, and then they will move over this axis toward these zeros. So definitely there will be a break-in point in between these zero, because the real axis between these two zero is the part of the root locus. Okay, so you can predict about the break in over the real axis between two zeros and between two poles. The third prediction can be made if there are no poles and zeros to the left of the zero and the real axis is the part of the root locus. On the left of the zero, there exists minimum one break-in point to the left of that zero. So now we can understand it with the help of this one. We have one zeros and two poles, and those are sketched over here. These are the two poles and this is the zero. So just consider, first of all, mark that which portion of the real axis is the part of the root locus. This is the part of root locus and this is the part of root locus. So -1, -3 and -6, and these are the parts of the root locus highlighted. Okay, now we are going to predict that if there are no poles and zeros to the left of the zero. Just consider that one. On the left of zero, there is no pole and zero, right? And the real axis is the part of the root locus. This is the part of the root locus, right? So there exists minimum one break-in to the left of that one, where some pole will be coming from here and will be moving toward zero. So one break-in can be expected over here, right? Okay, so now how to determine these break-in and the break-away points. So let's discuss the steps for the calculation of this break-in and break-away. So first step is to frame the characteristic equation of the system. So characteristic equation is this one, 1 plus kgs into h of s. Then write the k in terms of s, that is defined in terms of the function of s. Then take the derivative of this function of this k with respect to s and set that derivative equal to 0. The roots of that derivative equation set equal to 0 may be the break-in and the break-away points. So if the value of k is positive for any root of dk by ds, the roots are valid break-away points. How to check that? The roots those you are going to get from this one, either the break-in or break-away, they are confirmed break-in or break-away. So how to check it? That you will check that k, and if that is positive for any root, if you check, you will check that k for the root, and if that comes the k comes out to be positive, it means that is the confirmed break-in or break-away point, and if that comes out to be negative, that will not be a break-away or break-in point. So let's discuss it with the help of this example. Let's suppose that we have open loop transfer function given by this equation. So the first step, we are going to check the break-in and the break-away. Okay, so the characteristic equation is this one. So 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. So taking this one from here, setting it equal to 0, and then simplifying this one, we will get this characteristic equation. Okay, so this is the characteristic equation. Now the step 2 is to write it this from this equation k as a function of s. So this k and shifting all of these to this side. So k is equal to this thing. Now the third step is to take the derivative of this one. So if we take the derivative, we will get this equation, and setting this derivative equal to 0, so we will get this equation. So now finding the roots of this one, it's a second order equation. So using the quadratic formula, you can find out the roots. Both of the roots are real in this case. One root is over here and the second root is over here. Okay, so what that means, the break-in or break-away is expected at these 2 points. Now let's confirm it, that either it's confirmed break-in or not. So how to do it? First of all, take this root minus 0.785 and take this equation of the k, this one. So k is equal to minus, taking this value of the s, so s is equal to minus 0.785 cube, right, minus 5 into this term s square. So s is equal to minus 0.785, and then minus 6 into s, so s is this one. So if you solve it, So it is 2.113 and it is positive. So it means it is a confirmed breakaway point, because it is between there are the roots, there are the poles over here in this example. So there will be the breakaway. These poles will be breaking away from the real axis. Okay, and if we check for the other values of the s, the second root that was equal to minus 2.55, so you can say it is negative. So k is negative, so it is not confirmed as a break away or the break-in point. The rule 7 is related to the intersection of the root locus with the j omega axis. So when your rule are going to break away from the real axis, they are going to move towards the infinity, infinite zeros or finite zeros, so they may cross the j omega axis, right? So how to find out the crossing of root locus over the j omega axis? So for that the steps are shown over here in front of you. That first of all, construct the equation, characteristic equation, then develop the Routh array in terms of k, right? And then find k for critical stable condition. We have discussed the Routh criteria in our previous videos, so refer to those videos for detail. Then write down the auxiliary equation and then find the roots of the auxiliary equation to get the point of intersection of the root locus with the j omega axis. So now let's do it with the help of this example. So now let's consider this example that g of s, h of s is equal to k divided by s into s plus 2 into s plus 4, 3 poles, one at 0, one at minus 2 and one at minus 4. So the characteristic equation is this one. So taking this value of the open loop gain and then solving it, we are going to get this equation. This is our characteristic equation, right? This is okay. Now for that, if we develop the Routh table that is shown over here, s cube, s square, s1, s0, right? So taking the coefficient 1 and 8 for this row, and the for second row 6 and k, and then the next entry is 6 into 8, 48 minus k divided by the pivot value 6, and the next entries are over here 0. So 0 minus 0, this is going to be 0. Okay, and the next row, this multiply by this minus this divided by this, so you are going to get k and the zeros over here. So this is our Routh table. And for now critical, we have applied this step. Now for critical stable condition, this k, this portion can be set equal to 0, but then the whole row will become 0. Okay, so 48 minus k by 6, that is equal to 0, so k is equal to 48. So when the gain will be equal to 48, your roots closed loop poles will be crossing the j omega axis, right? And now using the auxiliary polynomial is defined with the help of the row just before the 0 row. So that will be equal to 6s square plus k, and setting it equal to 0. So now if we look at the roots of this one, this is the equation. This can be written like this and this can be written like this, and finally your roots s is equal to plus minus j2 under root 2. So you have two roots at the j omega axis. So these are basically the closed loop poles at the j omega axis, so when they will be crossing that one. So if I go and look at this example, let's suppose, so basically these are these points, right? So when your poles will cross the j omega axis, so those points can be determined and the corresponding gain can be calculated. Okay, so the rule number 8 is related to the j omega crossovers, and rule number 7 is related to the j omega crossovers and the calculation of the gain k, when for which value of the k your roots will cross the j omega axis. Okay, so in the next video we will discuss about the angle of departure and the arrivals. That is basically the angles at which your pole move towards the infinity along the move towards the asymptotes to go towards the infinity. So that we will discuss in the next video. So if I summarize what we have done in this video, we have seen an example of the root locus, and then we have seen that how we can determine the breakaway and the break-in points, what is the meaning of breakaway and break-in points, and then we have seen that how we can find out the j omega crossovers for the closed loop poles, and how we can find out the corresponding gain. That's all from this video. Thank you very much.